What's up, baby?
Turkey killing mofos. Hey, you a professional now.
You got her? Heck yeah, man. That's awesome, dude. Hell yeah.
Storytelling in regards to hunting and fishing has gone back hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
Literally on the rock walls of our nation.
Push it. Yes, sir.
What you doing, Brandon?
Go. By the way, your nipples are already wet.
I just shot probably one of the most epic scenes, like, probably ever. These two monster bugs got after it, and it was so cool.
That's about like what you want it to look like. Cover it.
Oh, he's so handsome.
That's a big deer, Megs.
He's big. He's a big boy. That's talking whitetail.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Holy crap.
Look at those hooves.
Everybody wants to be a turkey hunter until it's time to do turkey hunters.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Tejas Hunt Club Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon McDowell, and today we've been trying to get this podcast recorded for a couple sessions, but it has finally worked out, and tonight we have on Ty Tucker of the Louise Varmint Contest, kind of back in my neck of the woods, a little bit east of Goliad, but still some friendly territory than what we're normally having on the podcast. But I first reached out to Ty a couple weeks ago after he's had his contest. We've had a lot of guests that have been on the podcast and some friends of ours that have hunted this contest, and I really liked what he was doing down there. And this year was their 5th year. So as a person who's been around, not necessarily the varmint contest side, but just the event side in general, and kind of knowing what it takes to put one of those things on, and the response from everybody enjoying it and showing up and coming out to it, I really wanted to get him on the podcast and kind of just talk about his story, how he got started, what made him take on such an endeavor as putting on a predator hunting contest, and then, you know, what he kind of stands for in that nature, and then, you know, spread the message, and hopefully we can help it grow and go on to other things and help some people out. So, Ty, thanks for coming on the podcast tonight, man, and
Yes,
just
sir,
give us
man.
a little
Thanks for
introduction
having me.
about yourself. Yeah,
Yeah,
no problem,
so
man.
Ty Tucker, CEO, creator of the Louise Varmint Hunt. Been doing it for 5 years now. Really enjoyed doing it. You know, it's a really humbling experience that I've gained, and I just really love doing and putting this event on. It means a lot to me. I take a lot of pride in it, and I take it very seriously. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Like I asked, like, what kind of before we jump into like the contest side, like what got you started hunting? What's your favorite thing to do outdoors, or what's your favorite animal to chase? Obviously, I'm gonna probably put predators and hogs and stuff pretty high on the list for you, just from knowing about the
Yeah.
contest and everything. But kind of, how did you get into the outdoors, man? Like, what set that spark for you?
Man, my dad, well, my parents and them, they instilled it into me as a kid. I shot my first deer when I was like 4 years old. We were in Menard, Texas, and I've been, practicing with my dad before season, and we were just sitting in the cold stand, dude. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a 20-foot tower stand. Freaking winds were 30 miles an hour. I bet this thing was just swaying, and I had a spike come out, and man, my dad was like, he's like, man, you can shoot him if you want. And I said, all right, and I'm sitting on his lap, and he's kind of helping me hold the gun, because I mean, I'm 4 years old, and I told him, I looked at him, I said, Dad, I'm gonna bust him. And he, he's heard that a few times before, but I never did, just because I was young, man, and I finally just freaking busted him, dude. It was all history from there. It's man, hunting is a huge passion of mine. I do it weekly, if not, every day sometimes. I take a lot of pride in it. It's a very humbling thing to, have animals in the wild, and, let them provide for your family and this and that. And, I really, really enjoy whitetail hunting, man. That's like my bread and butter. That's my favorite, just chasing, whitetails. We have a lot of family land here where I live in Louise, and, we go out there all the time, and I take care of the place a lot. And, we just enjoy it, man. It means a lot to me, and pig hunting, varmint hunting, that's right up my alley too. I enjoy those things. It's really, really fun to me. Calling varmints in, they're a challenge. Deer, you go sit in the stand, but a varmint is a challenge, and that's what really, really, gets me going with that too. So, and pigs, man, I do pig hunting at least 4 times a week sometimes, man. It's we went last night and got on a big group, and it was, just another night of hunting, but it was fun. I enjoy it every time. I'd rather be hunting than sitting in the house, or doing something laid up, whatever. So
Heck yeah, man. I completely agree with you on that. And I always hear, like, we have had a couple guests on the podcast that have said, they shot deer at 4 or 5, 6 years old. And I think going to other states and talking to other people, that's something that really doesn't happen that much. Like, there's some states that you can't hunt big game animals until you're 12. And I think it's
yep.
really cool, like in Texas, that we can do that as young kids and still get hunting license and still, like you said, instill those values and stuff at a young age. Because, I mean, at 12 years old, you've already had T-ball and pee-wee football and everything else to get in the way.
Yeah, you're almost a
especially here in
teenager,
Texas. Yeah. It's trying to get started hunting then is and get kids especially to be into it. I mean, if it's not keeping their attention, every second, it's kind of hard to do. But when you get them young and you start taking them and stuff like that's where it's at.
Yeah, that's like my favorite thing to do. I have my coworker, my cousin, he has some twin boys, and man, we always take them every year to our place here in Louise. And it's just that right there is a full circle moment for me. I just take a kid hunting, man. It's so important because that's how I was raised, and that's how I want other kids to be raised. I want them to experience the outdoors and do all the fun things that I got to do as a kid. And those boys are, 11 or 12 years old, and they've been doing it, just as long as I have, and they freaking absolutely love it. It's just very humbling to me, and it makes me feel good, that they enjoy it as much as I did as a kid. And I remember all those memories with, sitting in the stand with my cousins and my uncles and everybody, man. My dad, I sat in the stand with my dad for years. And then, I just kind of was like, Dad, I'm going to do it on my own. I got my hunter's education still and all that. And it's just, I was never looked back.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's been fun. Like this past season, I got to take my son Haston, he's 1 now. He turned 1 back in February, but we got to take him and go to the lease and go sit in the stand and do all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's hard. Don't get me wrong. For those parents out there, they know to pack all that stuff. It's an endeavor. But once you get your system down, it kind of gets a little bit easier. You know what to pack and what you don't need, and kind of save some room. But yeah, man,
you got to take the not so crunchy chips. The not so crunchy chips,
exactly.
And take them out of the bag and put them in a Ziploc bag. Those are easy tricks,
man.
A
Ziploc bag.
And take a water or a Gatorade, something not carbonated, because it's going to go every time.
Every single time. Yeah, exactly. And you got to make sure you have those snacks. So that's a good tip for those parents out there. Take them out of the bag and put them in something else. But
main thing is just take them hunting, man. Get them out there. That's the big deal, man. Whether your son's 1 year old, and he don't know it right now, but you know it, and when he gets to where he can remember it, it's going to be instilled in his head. This is what I was raised to do. This is what my parents like to do. So it's going to be, he'll remember it, man. I promise.
Oh, for sure. And it's going to be fun watching him go through the same things we went through as kids and seeing and getting excited about deer and all that kind of stuff. It's just, like you said, it's a full circle moment because the same feelings you had when you were a kid. But yeah, it's pretty cool. We've gotten to do some stuff with the youth hunts with TWA and Texas Parks and Wildlife. And those are the most fun. Like we do the adult learn to hunt program too, but like seeing those kids get excited like it's just the best thing in the world. Seeing grown adults
100%.
get excited is fun too. Don't get me wrong, but seeing a little
100%.
kid get jacked up about shooting a deer or something like that, like it's a cool thing to see.
Oh
And
yeah,
getting to see it from different experiences is awesome.
totally. Yeah, like that's the whole reason, in my tournament, I have the youth division and it's ages. I had to set a limit, man, and I set the limit, 6 to 12. But I didn't want anybody above 12, but if they were, 5 years old and can do what I was doing when I was a kid, hey, more power to you. Let's do it. But we did the heaviest coon, and, coons aren't hard to kill, but it's a challenge for kids, at that age. And they can trap, they can do whatever means necessary to get a good coon. And man, just seeing their excitement and watching the kids come through the line and weighing their coon in, and they're holding it up, taking pictures, smiling ear to ear, man. Just it's more. It means more. Like your the world's so fast, and everything just slows down for a second, and you just take the moment in, and you're like, man, this is what it's about right here. I don't care about anything else. Like this is what we got to instill in the young generation.
Dude, 100%, dude. And there's a lot of contests. They're geared towards adults because they're contests and it takes money to do this kind of stuff. But I think it's real cool that you took the step back to be like, you know what, I'm gonna add a kids division because this is what is needed. And hopefully a lot of other contests can, if it's, I mean, obviously it's running the event, so I hope they take the time to like try to add those things in and get those kids involved. I mean, you get the whole. It's one thing where you can like just go to the weigh-in yourself, but when you can get the whole family involved and get everybody coming out, hanging out, having a good time, that's a cool thing too.
Yeah, 100%. I have a lot of buddies that I've met along the way in this tournament, world, you kind of call it, just great people that host other tournaments and that. And man, I was kind of one of the first ones to do the youth division, and everybody got the idea. And like now, like my buddy Jeff, like he loves to do, the youth division. Like if he has a team coming to weigh in and there's a kid that brings a coon in, dude, he stops the whole weigh in and they weigh the coon, like kids first, always. And then
Heck yeah.
that's what I like about it. It's inspired other people that host these tournaments to, do, the kid division and that. And it's just, man, it's just a full circle moment.
Oh yeah, because you mean nine times out of 10, a bunch of these guys they're hunting with their kids and their family anyway, and like why not carry it over to the contest thing? I know it gets a little more serious because prizes and some money gets involved in some of these contests, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
still cool to be able to take your kids and do it. But yeah, it's that's what's always kind of intrigued me. I've never on the predator hunting side, like I've shot a couple coyotes, but it's been like, oh, we're doing something else, and oh, there's a coyote.
Yeah.
But I've never
That's how it
really
always
got
is, man.
into
You're
the
hunting pigs.
actual.
You're hunting pigs, you see coyotes. You're hunting coyotes, you see nothing but pigs or deer. It's you never see what you're going for that night. Like last night or the few nights I've went, see nothing but coyotes, and I'm like, man, I'm not hunting a tournament. I'm just out here trying to, help some of these farmers with these pigs, and it never fails
Yeah.
to see the wrong species when you don't need it.
Oh yeah, all the time. But I never
All the
really
time.
got into the calling aspect, which I think is pretty cool. I like calling turkeys now and all that kind of stuff. But the calling of predators has always been something that I have like dipped my toe in, or had a couple buddies that do it and like listen to their stories, but haven't gotten real serious about it myself. And I kind of like to
Right.
just to learn something new. Not obviously not getting to the like I'll be the ultimate predator hunter because I like doing too much stuff anyway. But
Yeah.
it's something I want to get into and try out because it does look a lot of fun, like a lot of fun. You see all the videos on YouTube of guys calling in coyotes. Hey man, I've been down a couple rabbit holes lately with the guys calling in raccoons and stuff like that and shooting them with
Man,
shotguns.
dude.
And it's just
You throw on a
it's
raccoon
something
fight,
about
they
tricking
hate
an
it.
animal.
Yeah, dude, it's fun, because you got to think a predator, they hunt for their food, so that's how they live. They're not grazers. They don't eat grass. They're not a deer. They don't go to a feeder and eat corn, or eat mesquite brush or whatever. They have to hunt to live, and man, they get smart. They get smart and they learn tricks. When they get older, they go downwind of everything to make sure it's legit. it's just, when you can trick a predator, man, it's fun. You know you've accomplished something because they are actually the prey and you're the predator at that point.
100%. It's a little different because their mind, like you said, isn't that prey. They're not grazing. They're not really. I don't know, like how cautious they are. I would think they're more cautious because they are predators, and the fact that, like, if they get hurt, like they can't hunt. Like a deer can
Right.
probably break a leg, and I'm sure there's coyotes and stuff that are missing legs and things that are making it, but they're not really thriving and getting what they really need because they can't perform and go out there and catch their prey. But yeah, it's always cool to see like how people and the play sounds or the way you set up and all that kind of plays into how you can call in these coyotes and then call in bobcats as well. I mean, there's guys that have called in mountain lions and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
Texas is obviously the perfect place for it because we
Yeah.
have almost every predator that you could have besides black bears. Well, we have black bears, you just can't hunt them or anything like
Yeah.
that because there's not that many. But hopefully one
Right.
day we'll get a bear hunt back here in Texas. That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool. That would be real cool. Yeah, I'm always constantly texting some of my buddies that are, bigger predator hunter than me. They hunt tournaments every weekend, and I'm always asking them, like, hey, what sounds you playing, and this and that, what's working, what's not working, and I'm just constantly picking their brain because, man, you always want to get better at it, and there's a lot of stout competition out there now, man. Some of these teams do this stuff from January 1st till right at the beginning of April, and then some. I mean, there's some tournaments in April too that go on, and man, it's just it's a grind for those guys, and they do it every weekend. They sacrifice a lot of stuff with their family to go out and do this with their buddies and that, and man, some of it really pays off. They win a lot of money and win buckles and prizes and everything else, and it's just they take a lot of time, put a lot of effort into it. A lot of scouting, and it's not just going out there throwing a caller out there and going. They're planning their whole night. If they got to go, they live in North Texas and they're going to go hunt South Texas, they get a hotel the night before, they get a good night's sleep. They're prepared and ready, man. And they're driving, 300-400 miles to a weigh-in, just hauling butt trying to get there and win something because they know they got something good. It's a grind, man. And I really respect a lot of these teams. I've doing this tournament now for 5 years and hunting some before then. I've met a lot of good people, man, and it just keeps getting better every year. I meet somebody new every year. I'm always on the phone with people talking, and then we become friends, and it's just really it's a full circle moment with then you get to meet them in person, and then you just become lifelong buddies, and man, it's really humbling. Yeah, I love it.
Heck yeah, man. Well, so before you got to the notion of like, hey, I want to put on my own contest, like what was your kind of history before that? Like, were you hunting contests pretty heavy and you saw something that, maybe you could do better, or you just saw the opportunity as like, hey, we don't have this in the area and I think we really could put this on and do a good job at it?
Yeah, so before I really started putting this on, they weren't that popular. And now, man, everybody's doing a predator tournament. I mean, and I don't diss anybody for it, but man, it's just there's a lot of good tournaments that get put on in Texas now. And now West Texas Cat and the Big Gray Fox, they've been doing it for years, and a long time. And man, they
Yeah.
have $200,000 payouts, 900 teams sign up. It's insane numbers, and I always tell myself that's the end goal. I mean, you always got to have a goal, and once you reach that goal, you got to have another goal. But no, man, I mean, I hunted a few. We actually had one here in Louise that they had put on. Some people had put on, and they were running it, but they didn't like the way it was being ran, and then they started catching a bunch of hate and stuff, and they said, man, we don't really want to do nothing with it anymore. And then a freaking light bulb went off in my ear, my head, and I was like, now's my time. Like my time is to get this established. My first year, man, you're gonna laugh. I had 30 teams, and 30 teams may seem like a lot, but it's nothing compared to what I've grown it into today. The last 2 years, I've had 140 teams, and that's insane growth. my first year I had 30 teams. My second year I had right at 50, like 49, 50, 51, somewhere in there. My third year I had right at 75. So, it was stepping up, but you got to get established and you got to put a good plan together. You got to have a good, stringer or whatever type of contest you're doing and whatever kind of fits your area because you're going to have more local teams than people that go far. So, we don't have a lot of foxes here, so I just do a fox side pot. I don't actually include that in my main stringer. And, you kind of got to accommodate to, your surroundings and stuff. So, yeah, but my fourth year, man, I went from 75, my third, and then that fourth year freaking blew up, dude. I had 140 and I was like, I don't even know how I'm gonna do this. I said, shoot, let's roll with it, man. And we rolled with it. It was great. Everything went smooth. And I told myself, I was like, now I'm established where I want to be. Like, do I want to get bigger? Maybe a little bit. I said, but I've established a base. And so now I have a lot of people that, trust me and they know I run a good tournament, a lot of integrity in my tournament. And if you've ever come to one of my weigh-ins, man, I'm always on top of things, and we have tons of help. I make sure everything's running smooth. And going into the fifth year, I had another idea in mind, and that was to become nonprofit, 501c3. Man, we established that in the off season. So now we're going to be giving scholarships away. We charged each team an extra $100, and it's all going to scholarships, so it's all for a good cause. So we charged each team $100 extra for their entry fee, and nobody had an issue with paying it, like because they all knew it was going to a good cause. So yeah, we started that, and then we'll be giving these scholarships away pretty soon. So for seniors in high school, and I have a few things on my website. It's just a form and it's pretty simple and cut and dry, man. It's, I just want basic information, and then I want like a 250 to 400 word essay on how the outdoors has impacted your life, and what kind of hunting do you like to do, and where do you see yourself in 5 years from now or 10 years from now or whatever it may be. And I just want to get to know the person, know the young person, and make sure they're in it for the right intentions, and just make sure that they enjoy the outdoors like I do. And man, there was a kid down the road in Ganado. He passed away years ago, and his parents actually created a big fishing tournament for him in his honor. And man, they did the scholarship stuff, and it's kind of where I always had the idea in the back of my head. And I actually met with Miss Diane, and she ran everything down with me. And they don't do it anymore. It's just because they're getting older in age, and it's really a lot to put these things on. But I picked her brain a little bit one day, and I was asking her all these questions and stuff, and she said, yeah, just the scholarship is a great thing. People will support you even more. Your donations are going to go crazy, and they did, man. Like when we announced that we were going to go 501c3, and people, some you may know about 501c3s, or you don't, but a lot of people don't understand what you actually have to do. And I went, not me knowing anything, I went to my accountant, and I told her, I was like, hey, I want to become 501c3 for my tournament. And she's like, okay. And she's like, do you know what all that takes? And I said, I have no idea. And she's like, well, I'm going to get you a list together, and you got to start doing all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, man. So you got to have, bylaws. You have to have board members. You have to have elected officers, term limits. It's a lot of stuff. You have to apply with the Secretary of State. And man, it was a lot, and it was overwhelming. And I called my buddy Jeff, and I'm like, dude, I think I'm regretting this. And he's like, no, dude. He's like, hang on to it. He said, don't give up on it. He said, because I promise you, you're going to be one of the only ones doing that. And he said, that's going to take you to even the next level. And I said, man, what is the next level? He's like, sky's the limit, dude. And so, yeah, we did that. Everything's going good with it. We have that on our website, the Word document that you can find, and I'll send you the link, and you can tag it in the podcast. But yeah, man, it's just it's a lot of work, but I enjoy doing it, and it's all for a good cause. And another thing that I really thought about, and I'm gonna do it, is if any kid who wins first place in the youth division, like the kid this year that won first place, he had like a 24-pound coon. That thing was freaking insane, man. And I made a promise in my head: as long as they apply for the scholarship, they get it no matter what when they become of age and that. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a full circle moment too, in a sense, because they supported me, so it's time for us to support them in that. So yeah, that's one thing we're going to be doing. So any kid that wins first place in our tournament is going to have a you know pretty much a guaranteed scholarship, as long as they do everything else everybody has to, but it won't get
Yep.
looked at hard, man. They're going to get the support from us. So
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. And like you said, it's handing that stuff out to those kids and being able to set them up. Like Megan and I, we used to be a part of the Ranch and Wildlife Committee for Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, which I'm going to say a big shout out to them, because this year they actually raised over $1 million through their fundraising for that. But because we
that's
moved over
awesome.
here, we weren't in that organization anymore. But we did a clay shoot, and for adults to as a fundraiser, and then a kids clay shoot, 4-H FFA kids. And
Oh yeah.
when I showed up there, because I shot sporting clays in high school and stuff, and I was like, man, like this would have been so cool to have as a kid, because we gave away, first place got a lifetime hunting and fishing license for the state of Texas. They got
I've always
actual
wanted to win one of
cash,
those.
and yeah.
Always.
That, and then like a pair of boots, and like a whole bunch of other stuff, but like little stuff like that. And of course, the lifetime hunting and fishing license has gone up since. I think
Oh
my
yeah.
buddy Bobby, his dad, bought him one when we graduated high school, and I think it was like just over $900. But like now it's like 12 or $1,300. But even then, like setting the kid up with a lifetime hunting and fishing license, where all they got to do is enter their information in and then get their tags for the rest of their life, like that's pretty cool too. And then, like you said, the scholarship, and knowing that if you bring in the heaviest coon, that you're going to get a scholarship, like
Yeah, man.
that's something that a lot of people can't say, especially like, well, it's getting better now, like with the bass fishing tournaments. And then I saw the other day that now they're actually giving out, like the colleges are getting real big into the barbecue teams, like all these
Yeah.
outside things that most people don't think. Like, it's not like, hey man, you got to be the best linebacker in the state to get a scholarship anymore. We can still look at these other skills like ag mechanics and stuff like that, and give kids an
hmm
opportunity to go do that kind of stuff.
it's options, like not every kid likes to cook, or not every kid likes to hunt, or not every kid, wants to be competitive in a sense, as far as FFA, all the different FFA events. And, it just gives a kid options. And some kids, strictly like this, some kids strictly like that. So man, I wish personally, like I heard about the barbecue, and I like to do professional, or not professional. I'm not a professional barbecuer. I like to do competition barbecuing with my buddies, and man, I've become pretty
Okay,
good
yeah,
at it.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not bad with it, but it's fun in a sense, and my buddy and I did a cook off in January, and he said, man, we're thinking about trying to get the school, they're talking to some teachers and stuff, but they're trying to get the school to start a barbecue team. And I was like, man, dude, I was like, I wish we had that when we were in school, because that would have been so much fun, dude. And I just but it's too late to go back now. We're only getting older.
Yeah, but now, but it's the fact that now we can kind of be in those, because part of the thing with Tejas Hunt Club is obviously being active in the things that we do and try to get other people to be active, to give back and stuff. But it takes like thoughts like you just said to be like, hey, or a group of buddies to be like, hey, let's put this together for these kids and give them an opportunity. So it's, yeah, we missed the part about participating in it, but now we kind of get to be the people that put those things together for people and do that kind of stuff, because I mean that's what it takes. And who knows, man, you might have the next Emerald Agassi or whatever come through your barbecue competition and set something off, or you might have the next person that cures cancer, even though that money
You
that they
never know,
got from
man.
barbecue and helped them go to medical school. Like you never know that kind of stuff that kind of
Never
comes
know.
around, and it's like you said,
Never
cool.
know.
It's cool to be like the people that are putting it together and trying and putting in the work, like you said, and having those people to help you out, because you can't do it by yourself.
No, it takes an army, man. before I created the 501c3, I was completely by myself on everything. I did everything myself. And the day of, I had a lot of help. My parents helped me out some, but I was the one doing everything, man. And it was a lot, dude. And then, I'm kind of real particular, and I run a tight ship with our board because, I want things done the right way and the correct way. And they know that, and they know the standard, and, they know what I expect. But putting, the trust into other people because I just can't handle it all anymore. And it kind of was like, I want to do this, I want to still have a grip in that. But you put the trust in the people that, you asked to, be a part of your team. And man, at the end of the day, you got to put your trust into them, and you trust them 100% that they'll do the same job that you're going to do. And, they know the standard, and that's real important to me. We set a high standard, and we keep that bar high, and we don't drop it.
Dude, yeah, that's the only way to operate. Like, it's funny to see, like you said, we're getting to the age where we're doing this kind of stuff, and it's kind of like you really don't have anybody to be like, hey, here's the blueprint of how you should do this. Most of the stuff you're getting now is just like, this sounds like a good idea, and we'll try it, and if it doesn't work, we'll just try something else.
Man, I tell you, you speak about trying different stuff. And you know when you, let me say, for instance, you go hunting, and you're walking to the stand, and you're walking, with the wind. uh you know it's something you learn, like, hey, maybe I should enter the other way and walk into the wind and have a, better opportunity to get in the stand and be undetected, or wear some scent killer or something. So you're always adapting and changing. And that's the same thing with my tournament. I started out, and dude, and I went on freaking Word, and I've created an entry form, and I'm printing these things out, and I'm handwriting everything. For 2 years, I hand wrote everything. And I told myself, I was like, bro, there's got to be an easier way to do this. Google
Yep.
Google Docs form. Now I send them a link, and it goes to Google Sheets. When they need a change, they tell me. I make the change on my end. I can mark that they're paid. It's so much easier, man. And you learn all these tips and tricks. First year I ever had the weigh-in, we did a hanging scale. Took forever for 30 teams. Now, at my tournament, not a lot of people run this many scales, but I run 4 scales. I got one specifically for the fox. I got one specifically for the coon, the bobcat, and the coyote. We run two of the vet scales for the bigger animals, the dog and the cat, and then we have
Yeah.
two hanging scales for the small animals. We're weighing 4 animals at once. It's great, man. We got an iPad. We're typing in all the numbers, and those numbers, it's all a shared sheet on Google. And so the guy that's running the spreadsheet is seeing the numbers and putting it into the main spreadsheet. Then we have a TV displayed. So you're always constantly learning something, man. And this year I took a step back, and I just was like, okay, is everything going good? Everything going good? And they're like, hey, we need to do this next year, and I'm like, got it. Like, everybody from the third to the fourth year, or the fourth to the fifth year, they were like, man, you should try to do a live updating of the weigh-in sheet. And I'm like, okay, like, we can try to make it happen. We didn't really have the best of luck with that this year because the internet wasn't very good, but we're in the plans to fix that. And so we're just going to try to give what the people want, because some of these teams are driving 3 hours, and man, they don't want to make a wasted trip if they know they're already beat. So, or if they
Yeah.
have a chance, then they're going to make that trip. So they're watching the live and this and that. And it's everything. You start at a base, and like you said, there's no blueprints. You got to create your own blueprints. You got to create your own foundation. You got to figure it out as you go. And man, that's what we've done. And I've taken ideas from other people. I'm like, that's a good idea. I'm gonna give you credit, but I'm gonna use it too. And
Yeah.
and so,
100%.
and a lot of people use my ideas, man, because I want things to run as smooth as possible. Like, I'm a smooth person. I'm very easygoing. Like, I want things to run as smooth as possible. That's very important to me. I don't want any hiccups. I don't want anybody upset. We really never had a problem with anything. So, knock on wood, man, we're adapting and changing stuff every year. But overall, man, we've learned a lot, and those blueprints are, they're setting the foundation. and for my tournament and for other tournaments, because people take my ideas all the time, and I don't mind it at all. And I had a guy reach out to me not too long ago. He's like, "Hey man," he's like, "There's not many tournaments in our area." And I said, "Yeah." So there's only a handful. I said, but they're becoming more popular. I said they're going to be coming around more. And he's like, "I'm thinking about doing one." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well," I said, "if you want to do it right," I said, "it's a lot of work, man." I said, "It's a lot of time. If you want to really put it together and do it right," I said, "but I'm willing to help you in any way, shape, or form." So, I just, we talked on the phone for an hour, and I, gave him basically my layout and how I do things, and he hunts my tournament, and it was really 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 cool, just that people reach out to me and kind of look up to me and get ideas and pick my brain too, because this ain't my first rodeo and it won't be my last. So
Heck yeah, man. Well, like you said, there's going to be more popping up, and it's gotten a lot more popular in the past couple of years with these tournaments and stuff. And like I said, I just want to give a big shout out to you and all the other people, because, of course, I'm sure you saw the drama that happened on Facebook at that hog weigh-in this past week, with those guys that apparently brought in a pet hog, that they
oh no,
apparently
I didn't see
that
that. Where was that at?
Okay, so and I got to go back and look. We'll see how the story plays out. But apparently, a team had approached an individual that had a pet wild hog that they've been feeding out, and just had in their yard, and it was a pretty good sized boar hog. And they apparently the people told them no, that they didn't want to like sell it or something like that to them, that they weren't going to do that. Well, they wound up stealing the pig, like coming back later and stealing the pig. Okay,
Wow,
so these people
that's
had
ballsy.
had it as a pet, so they had a bunch of pictures of it. Like, once a pig gets its markings, it's kind of pretty recognizable if you got like a bunch
Oh,
of sources that
100%.
you can go back and look at. So they stole the pig, they turned it into this contest, and the way that they worded the questions in the polygraph, they passed it. Like, it wasn't like they asked them a question, "Hey, did you steal this hog?" or like
Yeah.
anything like that. So there wasn't really like a significant way to be like, "Oh yeah, y'all cheated." They kind of skirted the lines around what happened, but at the end of the day, they still stole the pig. But they wound up getting found out, because the picture started circulating and all that kind of stuff, and it was just a big ordeal on Facebook, of course, with a whole bunch of
Hmm.
comments and everything else. But it's like,
That's
dude,
crazy.
all these people take this amount of time to put these events on, like yourself, and then you have people like this that do things that are wrong, and it's hard. It's putting even more pressure on these people to put on these events, because I mean, if you're known for, I wouldn't say allowing cheating, but not doing your damn best to prevent it, people aren't going
Uh-huh.
to come to your contest. And I don't
Yeah.
understand, even with the fishing stuff and the weights that have been in the past. It's like, God,
I remember
it's
that one.
it's
Those
it's
guys,
it's
yeah.
2025, 2026, and we're still out here trying to cheat. Like, what are you really winning by cheating at this contest? Because you're going to be
Yep.
found out.
Hmm.
If not this one, it's going to be 3 down the line, because if you're cheating like that, you got to be perfect every single time that you're cheating for you
100%.
not to get caught. And once you
100%.
do get caught, everything else that you've won up to that point in time is going to be, looked at even harder and be like, well, shoot, were they cheating back then and all that? So, like, what's kind
Hmm.
of some of the things, I know I spoke on the polygraph, but like, what's kind of some of the things that event producers kind of do to keep people from cheating, or like what are some kind of the rules that you put in there to kind of do keep people in line, I guess?
Yeah, so you always have to have your rules, man, and they have to be public. And I send this to every team. That way, hey, it's on you if you didn't read it or not. You know the rules, or you don't know the rules. You can't say I didn't send it to you and I didn't try to, tell you the rules. But no, for sure, polygraph is very important with a tournament. And my first year, I don't think I polygraphed. I had 30 teams, and it was my first year, and I didn't even think twice about a polygraph. It costed money, and I was like, I'm just trying to get by and start and get the base, laid out. But the second year, we did a polygraph, and polygraph is important because it keeps the integrity of your tournament up. A lot of people have reached out to me and asked, and it's kind of suspicious. They're like, "Are you polygraphing?" And I'm like, "Of course." And they're like, "Okay, perfect. We're going to hunt your tournament then." A lot of people won't hunt tournaments now if it's not polygraphed, and I kind of like that because it keeps the integrity of the tournament up. You keep all the riffraff away, and you get some people that like to bend the rules, but at the end of the day, I got people texting me, all the times, and on my website, I really need to put a frequently asked question on there, like a thing, because dude, I get the same questions every year, and I don't mind explaining it because I want everything to be clear for everybody. But
Yep.
no, you have to set a baseline of rules, and I have a whole rule sheet that's on my website, and it's just basic rules, and everything that's allowed and not allowed, and you got to lay those out, and you got to have your in your rules, you got to have the way you break ties and stuff. If we had a main stringer tie, which we did my fourth year, we had a tie for first and second and a tie for third and fourth, which was basically first and second, overall. The first four teams, the top two teams were tied and the next two teams were tied, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, how did this happen? No problem. I said, we're going to polygraph first. We polygraphed first. We didn't have an issue. We polygraphed second. Didn't have an issue. And we got to the third team, and I only, got sponsored for two polygraphs. And so we ran the third polygraph, and I had to run the third one because the guys that were basically going to lose the second place, spot, were my buddies, and, they're local people and really good friends of mine. And I said, hey man, I'm gonna make sure everything's legit with this team that's ahead of y'all and that. And I said, I'm gonna run a third test, and we did. We didn't have any issues. I've never had an issue with a polygraph. Now other tournaments I know they have, and nobody likes to get tested. I mean, everybody's nervous and this and that, but at the end of the day, like my polygrapher, he said, man, I can tell when somebody's lying before I even hook them up to anything. He said, I've been doing this so long, he's tested some of the worst people in the world. He's been an investigator for 30 years. So, he said 9 times out of 10, he's like, I
Yeah.
can get to know somebody and I can know if they're going to lie to me or not within the first,
Yeah.
5-10 minutes of talking to him. So
Yeah, I'm sure people have their tells, and when you've been looking at, people that are lying for a lot more than just, some raccoons and some coyotes, it kind of trains you to be able to pick those things out for sure.
I've learned,
Which a lot of I
anybody will do anything for money, man. Like it's crazy because, when you got
hmm
all this money involved, 50 plus $1,000. Like this year we had like, I think it was $56,000 in payouts. Dude, that's a lot of money, to most people. And I mean, it gets split up in, various ways and that. But at the end of the day, man, people will do anything, and, you every now and then you get that one team that comes in and they just, you just get you feel a suspicion, about them. But I take everybody with an open mind, and if, I can, sense something that's off, I'll pull them to the side and say, just ask them questions, talk to them, bullshit with them. It's just I almost feel like I could tell if somebody's lying, to me within, because, obviously they're going to be nervous and this and that. But man, I've never had an issue, knock on wood. Hope I don't ever have an issue. But it's very important, like I said, to just have have that polygraph there, and because it keeps the integrity of your tournament up, man. Like, people will not hunt it without it because, they want a fair shot. And I respect that 100%.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because there's nothing worse than entering something and putting in a bunch of work and knowing that you did everything that you could to win, and say you come up short, that's okay. But knowing that you did everything you could to win, but then somebody shortchanged
Got
it and they
cheated out.
tried to
Hmm.
skirt around the rules and got cheated out of it. That's a hard feeling to swallow down for sure, especially if you know it and you don't have any way to get it across to where it works. But man, it's I can only
Yes.
imagine,
Yeah. No, a lot of people,
because diesel is
you
not
know how
cheap right
much, boy, you ain't lying. Diesel is expensive.
now.
Stupid expensive. It's making me want to go buy a car, but I will never do that.
Yeah,
But no,
exactly.
man,
Same here. Same here.
no, you got to think, not just the time they have invested, but the equipment, man. The equipment is insane nowadays, and there's so many thermals, so many suppressors, so many guns, and like I said, like, dude, if I was to sell everything I have right now, shoot, I could build a house cash. And it's crazy, man. The amount of money I have invested. I bought a drone not too long ago, a thermal drone, and man, we recovered a deer with it in
Heck yeah.
South Texas. Like, my buddies, they drove over there, and I was like, I'm just gonna sit here because I killed a doe at one of their stands, and I said, I'm just gonna sit here. I said, I'll fly over there and just kind of give me a ballpark idea where it's at. Dude, I damn near had the thing spotted before they got there, and then I just hovered the drone over. They walked in there, grabbed it. It's just fun stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I every time, man, I go into a pawn shop or I go into the local gun store here, and they get me every time. My buddy Dean at R&M, he'd be like, "Hey, come look at this," and I'm like, "Nope, not gonna do it, Dean. Not gonna do it." And he's like, "No, you gotta look at this." And sure enough, dude, I'll go get the checkbook out of the truck, man. It's just, but I'm
Yeah.
very blessed that I'm able to do that kind of stuff. I have a good job and everything, so I'm very happy that I can. I'd rather spend my money on that than something I won't enjoy. So.
Exactly, man. And okay, so kind of since you brought that up, the equipment and everything, what's I kind of know because I try to keep track of it, and obviously with my job, I try to keep track with for people to buy suppressors and things like that, know what the new calibers and everything's running. I know 6-arc's a big thing. I have one myself. I love it. Shot a pig with it yesterday and was pretty
Hell yeah.
excited with it. But like what's some of the stuff you run? Or are you saying and then like some of these contest guys like kind of talk to like some of the rigs, guns, setups, everything that kind of they're running with nowadays. And I mean even the high racks for the trucks and everything. I was driving out to Midland for the SCI banquet, and it was the same weekend as West Texas Big Bobcat, and I'm just
Oh, you see
passing
some
rig after
crazy
rig
stuff
after
over there,
rig with
man.
high rack.
Yeah.
Dude, it's a whole different world going into that. So like personally, what calibers are you running for stuff, and then we can kind of talk about like what you're seeing like in the contest side.
Yeah, so like last night, I took 2 guns with me to hunt. If I got a big lone boar out there, I got my 22 Cree with my Knox Pick Ace S60R on top of it. I'm gonna drop that pig. I'm gonna walk up to it and shoot it if it's 1 or 2. It's a bolt gun, and I'm left-handed.
Yeah.
I got a left-hand bolt. A lot of people don't like left-hand bolt. With being a lefty, but dude, I don't know how else to shoot. Like I can't shoot, and then it messes me up every time. But I take
Yep.
multiple calibers because then we got on a group of about 30 and we killed roughly a dozen, and I took an AR. Because I'm not gonna waste those expensive shells on a group when when I'm gonna probably miss a few times more than when I'm really focused in and just worried about 1 or 2 animals like pig or coyote or whatever. But no, I'm running the 22 Creedmoor, man. It's a Horizon gun. Dude, that
Heck
thing
yeah.
it's bad ass. I love it. It's a really good gun.
Yeah.
Then I have a Christensen AR. I run. Man, I have so many suppressors now. I almost have one for every gun. It's kind of it's kind of a bad habit, but I love it, man. I run the AB suppressors. I just bought 2 Squaw Mountain Precision suppressors. My buddy Stephen Olgeen, he just
Okay.
started
Yep.
his company up not too long ago, and he's got the patent for some, and he's creating a bunch of different calibers, in the making and that, and I got one right here actually in the box still. There's 2 of them up here, but yeah, no,
Heck yeah.
I've become really good friends with him, and man, he's taught me a lot about suppressors. He's creating all these different calibers and everything. He's really making. He's investing back into his company, and it's really gonna pay off for him at the end of the day. But yeah, man, and tripods, man. I'm a big tripod guy. I love tripods, but I run the Tricer, man. That Tricer is it don't get
Dude,
much lighter than that, dude. That thing is stupid light.
well, you just sold me because I got a buddy that works for Tricer, Mike Hearn. I say a buddy, an Instagram buddy. We finally met for
Hmm.
the first time. We've been talking for probably 3 or 4 years on Instagram. We finally met for the first time this year at SHOT Show and just happened to run into each other. And he works for Tricer, and I've been looking for a tripod. And then I heard somebody else mention Tricer. And of course, I get their Instagram ads and all that kind of stuff. And but I haven't had the chance to like put my hands on one. and like just manipulate it and look at it. Like I've used the two vets and I've used the other ones, and I mean those things are not cheap at all. And I
No,
get it,
none of
especially
them
like
are.
coming from the camera side, and just you have to understand that you're trusting this device to hold thousands of dollars worth of equipment.
Yeah,
So I get why it has to cost a little more. But
yeah.
yeah, man, I really like tricers. So like, I'm glad you said that you like them too, because that's kind of the way I'm leaning on what I'm about to buy for mine.
I've had bog pods, and bog pods are great. I love them. They're a little heavy, they're on the heavier end, but they're sturdy and they're gonna hold up anything you need it to hold up. All these things at the end of the day are gonna hold what you need to hold. But man, I have fell in love with my tricer tripod. Like last night, me and my buddy Jason Span, we're walking to the pigs,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that boy's. I mean, we're both huffing, dude, because it's the field's wet. It's nasty, and we're getting it. And I look over there, I'm like, "You good?" Because I hear him kind of, he's getting it, and he's like, "Yeah, these damn sticks are heavy." And I say, "You got to get on this train, dude. Get these tricer." And he's like, "I know, but I ain't spending all the money." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm telling you," I said, "Dude, I mean, yeah, they're expensive, dude. Like, I don't even remember how much mine cost because I've had them for about a year now. But man, they're crazy expensive. And I actually just recently bought the new bipod that they came out with that connects to your Picatinny rail. That thing is a
Hmm.
killer too, man. And it's adjustable to where you can go prone with it, or you can sit on your butt and shoot, or you can kneel. I mean, it's fully adjustable to, like, I think 30 something inches. But man, it's just,
Oh,
that thing
nice.
is, yeah, it's very versatile, very, especially for like mountain shots and stuff. If you gotta get elevation and this and that, and you're laying on rock or whatever. I'm really excited. I'm gonna take
Yeah.
that one on my aoudad hunt in February of next year, because that one's gonna really
Oh, nice.
really help out a lot. So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because I'm going to, me and my buddy Jared and his neighbor, we drew Idaho mule deer tags for
awesome.
October. So it'll be
Hell yeah.
a rifle hunt. So going up there, and like you said, we've been in this area before, but last time we were with archery, we had archery tags, and like the brush is pretty tall, so we were like talking about that. It's like, man, if we're down low and we got to get up, like how are we going to be able to do that? And but what you said with that tricer, even the tripod will probably help out a lot. But that I mean the bipod will help out a lot, but the tripod will probably be good too, because I mean I need to train more shooting off a tripod. I shot that
Oh
pig
yeah.
yesterday off a monopod, so I was real happy, real happy with that. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, cool. Well, at least I have a little bit of a foundation. I can shoot pretty good, and I was comfortable on it.
100%.
And with the
Yeah.
tripod, it'll be even better.
Yeah, you think about it, like, when I first started using a I first when I first started hunting, like when I first got my first thermal, man, I just was like, I'm gonna go out there and freehand it, dude. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I would shoot one, two, maybe. You put that tripod on there, man, you get a good steady rest, and you're in the zone, you're doing your thing, dude. Your numbers will go up. But tripods are very, very important to me. I don't hunt without one. Like, I went on my orcs hunt the other day that you saw on Facebook, and that guy
Oh yeah,
said,
yeah.
he's like, no, he said, we ain't gonna need one. We're just gonna sit up by a tree and this and that, or whatever. And I'm like, I'm bringing my tripod. I said, I don't leave without it. Sure enough, what did I do? We stalked some, and I had my tripod ready. We didn't get a shot on them then, but ended up not shooting off of the tripod. But for my peace of mind, I had it there, and I knew I was gonna be all right with it. So uh, but yeah, no,
Yep.
like you
Yeah.
said, it does
Rather than
take practice on a tripod, man. It's you can lock your gun in there and you can walk away from it, and I think that's the coolest thing ever, But at the end of the day, you got to get comfortable with your equipment, man. It's very important, Like when I first got my new thermal, I've had so many since then, but this Knox pick, man, I love this Knox pick is out of this world. That 1280 is stupid clear. And, I'm just sitting there on
yeah.
my recliner at night. I was watching a bunch of videos on it, and I'm sitting there just playing with it and going through all the settings, getting, familiar with the settings, because you never know what's going to happen in the field, man. You need to change something, or you need to go somewhere, and, you're not familiar with your equipment. Hey, or just a simple gun jam, it can, anything can happen. So you got to be, familiar with your equipment, but be comfortable with it at the same time. So.
Oh yeah, because you're gonna be out there in the dark, and it's like, where's that button again? I don't want to turn
Yep.
on this headlamp to look for this button. It's like I need to know
Yep.
where it is when I can just feel it and do things like that. Yeah. Oh yeah,
100%.
it's the same thing like with our camera stuff too. And we're trying to film stuff. It's like I'd rather run something and know where all the buttons are to where if I just have to feel, I know exactly where it is. I don't have to like move or anything else to get it working like I need to.
Yep. No, 100%. And back to what we were talking about, what kind of, weapons I'm running. I'm running the 22 Creed, and then I have the Christensen firearm AR, and I love those two guns. Those are, a couple of my favorite guns. Daytime, I run a 6.5 PRC with a Swarovski scope. That thing's a hammer, dude. That's probably my favorite gun I own. I love it. I have a suppressor on it, and it never comes off. Man, I've had kids shoot that
Yep.
gun. The kids I take hunting, they shoot that gun. They're comfortable with it. It's an all around great caliber. A lot of people hate on the 6.5. But man, I used to own a 6.5 Creedmoor, and I didn't like it, and I got rid of it, and I got this PRC, and I've never looked back, man. That PRC is a hammer. Love that gun.
Oh dude, yeah.
Um, some of the other, calibers that people run, man, I got a buddy, he runs a 243 bolt, on a thermal, and 243 ammo, it's fairly reasonable. It's a lot cheaper than your PRCs and your 22 Creeds, man. Everybody, that 22 Creed is a hot round right now, and it's expensive. So it
Oh
gets
yeah.
that's why I take that AR, man, because I'm like, if I get on a group of pigs, I'm not about to empty a 5 load clip on this thing. Like I'm gonna shoot a 30 cent FMJ versus a $2 or $3 round every time. So just got to be
Yeah,
smart with
yeah.
your equipment
When I was
and what you're hunting for. So
Yeah, when I was working at Horizon, because I worked at Horizon before I worked at Silencer Shop, and when of course Derek was one of the big guys that brought 22 Creedmoor to the industry and all that kind of stuff, and building the rifles that we built, and it's cool now that obviously I'm not working there, but still seeing their name and everything pop up and the rifles that are coming out and people having success with it. Because like I said, I know the work Derek and them put into it, and they've done a great job of building it and everything else. So yeah, dude, the 22 Creedmoor, when those guys come in and got those rifles built, or even bought some of the ones that they like the line that we had that were already pre-made, and then like every time it's like I need 10 boxes of 22 Creedmoor with this rifle, I
yeah,
need 15 boxes of 22 Creedmoor, because then it was before it was Sammy approved, so there wasn't that many people. Like the only place you can get it was either us at Horizon, Texas Ammo, or if you were reloading and building your own bullets, that's how most of the guys were. But now it's just, since it's got Sammy approved, it's blowing up, and it's a pretty badass round. Like
it is.
I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of things die from a 22 Creedmoor, that you tell people that like, oh yeah, it's 22 Creedmoor, and they're like, a 22. I'm like, you don't understand this 22 though.
That thing is that
this
thing
is
is
this is
humming,
this is
dude.
a
It's
little bit,
moving.
yeah, it's moving, and it's not like your little, your small 22 caliber. Like this is an 80 grain bullet that is moving
That's what
fast.
I
But
shoot. I
yeah,
shoot
dude,
the
those
Hornby
rifles
80
are,
grains, and I love them.
oh yeah, that's the main
You
one. I
know,
know they have the 77s, the 80s, and then the 88s. But the 80s were always the ones that grouped the best on the rifles, and what most of the guys shot.
yeah, yeah, no, 100%. And then, you have some guys, I think one of the best all around calibers there is ever made is the 22 250. That thing can shoot you a deer, it can
Mm-hmm.
shoot you a hog. I mean, if you need to take a big game animal with it, most likely if you hit that thing right, it's going to drop it, or it's going to, you're going to harvest that animal ethically. And man, I really think that gun right there, it's been around a lot longer than some of these other guns, and that gun right there is for sure. If anybody is getting into this stuff and they don't want to spend a lot of money and get a good baseline rifle, a 22 250 is the way to go, man. I've told that to a lot of people, and the ammo is reasonable. I've convinced a few people to get 6.5 PRCs, and I said, this is a popular round. I said, it comes with a price, it's not cheap, but, they shoot mine or whatever, and they love it. And mine is actually from Montana. I think it was, I don't remember where in Montana, but it's, Proof Research. And dude, those things, I love their barrels. I don't even speechless on them, man. It's my favorite gun I
Yep.
own out of everything I have for sure.
Oh yeah, I have a proof barrel on my 6 ARC, and if I have a say in it, if I did every time I build a rifle or get one built, I'm probably gonna put a proof barrel on it just from being at Horizon. We use a lot of those on the carbon
Mm-hmm.
side and the steel side, but just like their barrels are just unmatched. I think. I mean, there's not like there's not really a drop off, I would say, to other barrel manufacturers, but it's just something about proof that like you can rely on it and you know it.
Yeah, and they're not cheap, obviously, but you get what you pay for in this industry, man. If you want the
Mm-hmm.
good equipment, the stuff that's going to last, the stuff that's going to hold up in the rugged conditions, and the rain, sleet, snow, sunshine, you get what you pay for in a sense, and
Yeah,
yeah, they're making a killing too, but man, at the end of the day, like I want, I'm the type that I want the best equipment that I'm comfortably with and I can afford to get the job done and get it right, so
yeah. I am very much a buy once, cry once kind of person. I want to know the very top end of whatever my budget is. That's what I'm going with because
a
I
hundred
don't.
percent
I've been through. Well, I'm gonna save some money here and save some money here, and then at the end of the day, 3 different things later, I'm back to the one thing that I said I wasn't gonna buy just because I didn't want to spend the money.
Yeah. I like Night Force. Night Forces are good scopes, but I really run everything that I have optic wise, like daytime, is all Swarovski. I have it on my 300
Yeah.
Win Mag that I just shot my works with. It's on my PRC. That's my favorite optic. Glass is clear. I have the range finding one on top of my 6.5 PRC, and that
Oh
thing,
yeah.
I mean, 1,000 yards, you hit a button, it drops your reticle, you shoot, it hits the target. Like it's crazy the technology, man. But I'm
Oh
the
yeah.
same way. You buy once, cry once, dude. You buy what you want, you get what you pay for, and you're set for forever, unless something happens to it.
Yeah, exactly. And then hopefully those people, because you spent that kind of money, are willing to help you out in
They
in
most
those
most of
times.
the
Because
time
like,
they have good warranties for sure. That's
oh yeah,
important.
oh yeah, and they understand like at the end of the day, the customer. I mean, as long as you're not just running out there breaking stuff on purpose, like they understand, shit's gonna happen and stuff breaks, and they're usually pretty good about it. Because like you
Hmm.
said, if you're just going to if you're taking your rifle out once a year, twice a year, and going to a deer stand like from a buggy and then walking up there, you probably don't need all to spend a whole lot of money on this stuff because you're not putting it in the elements. But if you're trudging across fields, dropping stuff's falling in the mud, crawling up mountains and rocks, going on an aoudad hunt or chasing oryx or anything like that, like you better make sure your stuff's able to hold up to it.
No, I always tell myself, and I tell other people that are wanting to get into this. I have a coworker, he's wanting to get into, hunting and this and that. And he just started working with us and really good dude. He's like, what do I need? And, I said, man, you're not a big hunter like, me and Jason and some of the other guys. I said, there's 3 levels to this stuff. I said, you got your entry level, you got your mid tier, and you got your, military grade, like, the really good stuff. And I said, I convinced him. I said, if I were you, I would get a good standard round, 6.5 PRC or a 270. I said, those are great rounds for what you need. You need it for deer and hogs, or coyotes and bobcats. That right there will get you around. You don't have to go buy the $4,000 gun and the $3,000 scope and the, $1,000 suppressor. He's like, wow, I want to get something good. I'm like, dude, no, like there's levels to this. It's the same thing with thermals. You got your baseline thermals, your 384s, you got your 640s, and you got your high definition 1280s. My first thermal was a 384, man, and I thought that thing was gold, dude. If I looked at that thing right now, which I don't own it anymore, I sold it, but I'd be like, this thing is junk, dude. But at the end of the day, it's all about what you're willing to spend and what you're going to use it for and how often you're going to use it. Now, with me hunting all the time, man, I buy nicer stuff because I'm using it a lot. And yeah, it's getting drug in the mud. And I mean, I dropped my PRC in the mud this year and I was like, I just wanted to cry. And seeing that gun dirty, I was like, I'm not going to clean it up right now. I said, the barrel's, it didn't get nothing in the barrel. And I was like, I'm not going to clean it up because, it was middle of deer season. And, I was just driving with it in the Ranger, the Can-Am all the time. And finally, the other day, I cleaned it up, because we have MLD, so we can hunt till basically, March. And I finally cleaned it up the other day, dude.
Yeah.
And I just put it in the safe, and I said, you can rest for a little bit.
Yeah, you done your work. Yeah, exactly. Like
It was
I have a
filthy
Ruger
dirty,
American
man.
Ranch.
I was so upset on how dirty that thing was. Like, I was cleaning it up, my rags were dirty. I'm just like, "Phew, throwing that one away, throwing that one away. It's just. But yeah, no, and that's one thing too. I love doing is keeping my guns, clean and functioning well, man. I really, it costs a lot of money, and you got to take care of it too. At the same time, it's like those are my kids. I don't have kids right now, but those are my kids, and I'm taking care of them. I want to make sure they're ready to go. So
100%, man. Like I got a Ruger American Ranch that I've shot quite a few things with, and it's in 300 blackout. Got a suppressor on it, so it's super quiet. But like that's
Mhm.
kind of like my throw around gun. And not to say I throw it around on purpose, but like you said, if it gets a little dirty and everything, like it'll be all right. And luckily,
Oh
that
yeah,
gun's it's been spot on. Knock on wood. I mean, I've dropped it a few times and it's still held zero. Everything else, but yeah, like it's when you find those good guns like that, you do got to treat them a little bit better and get them all cleaned up and looking good. And plus, when you shoot something, it's nice to take pictures when your gun's looking
that's
good.
it, man. You gotta show your stuff off. I killed that oryx the other day,
Heck
man.
yeah.
I really enjoyed that hunt. That was a lot of fun. I got a hunt in September coming up. It was actually I was at a cook-off cooking, and you know, a little bit of liquid encouragement, and I bid on a damn gator hunt, and I won the gator hunt. And man,
Mm.
I contacted the people, and I was like, what do y'all charge for these? And they told me the price, and I was like, okay, cool, and well, I know what I paid for it, and I was like, shit, I got this thing half off. And I thought, I was like, God dang, I didn't even know I got stuck with it at the moment. And then they came up to me, they're like, "What's your name, sir?" And I'm like, did I win it? It's just one of those things. But I was like, at the same time, like I was pumped up because I mean I've never killed a gator or anything like that. So I'll be going in September and killing an alligator, man. I'm pretty stoked about that. It's
Heck
gonna be a
yeah.
lot of fun. So
Yeah, that's always been something I wanted to do as well. Because I mean, we seen them all the time at Coletto, down there. And then if you go to God dang it, now I'm gonna blank on it. What's the other lake in Victoria? Oh shoot, right there outside of town.
uh,
It's not Is it Saxon Lake?
dude, I don't even know. I know Coletto,
I
that's
can't
about
remember right
it.
now. But yeah, but there's always gators and stuff there, and it's like you can't hunt gators at Coletto, and it's always like
Hmm.
why wouldn't be able to hunt them here? They're here, and there's a pretty good population of them. But yeah, gators has always been on my list because get a nice pair of boots made, a belt, something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
Get something for the wife, man. You gotta do that kind of stuff. That way they let you go on these hunts.
Oh, dude, 100%. Yeah, she's definitely getting a alligator purse or a
Yeah,
wallet or
wallet.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's enough hide on there. We'll be good. Heck yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, it's
That's
always
it.
cool when you can do stuff like that.
Yeah. Another hunt, like I said earlier, I got my aoudad hunt. I've always wanted to chase a West Texas aoudad, man. It's been a dream of mine. I have this whole list in my mind, and I've killed my hill country axis. I've killed my big whitetail, and I've killed, my oryx the other day, and I'm going on this gator hunt, but I'm just exploring new animals besides whitetails and predators and that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going on that West Texas aoudad hunt in the Davis Mountains in February of 2027. And dude, I think I'm more pumped up for that than anything, just because like I know that's going to be a hunt, like that's going to be legit, like that's going to be what I want. I want the challenge. I like the challenge. I went for my birthday this past year in 2025 in October. I went and we went to the Kennedy Ranch in Sarita, me and two of my coworkers, and we shot nail guy, dude. The most
Oh yeah.
best time I've ever had. It was so much fun. you know, Jason, he shot his in like the first 30 minutes. They went and they were going to park over this big lake. Dude, there was one standing right there, a big old bull. I mean, he was stout, dude, probably 700-pound bull. smoked it right behind the ear. Freaking guide texted in the guide mess, like with all the guides, and he's like, bull down. And my guide showed me, and I was like, damn, I was like, that's Jason. I was like, you already shot one? I was like, he ain't even got to like ride around this 180,000 acre ranch, like free range, dude. And hey, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, man. My coworker, he shot his bull, and them animals are tough. He shot it with a 300 rum, and he had to hit that thing like 3 or 4 times. And I mean, they're tough animals. But I tell you what, man,
Oh
I
yeah.
signed up for I got what I wished for when I signed up for that, and I had a great time. We went through an outfit down there, CB Outfitters, Clay
Oh
Brown.
yeah. Yeah.
Man, he's
Yep.
a cool dude, real cool dude, and we went through him. I had a great time, but I tell you what, my hunt was a hunt, dude. I was on hands and knees crawling with my 300 at times. I had 40,000 steps in 15 hours of hunting. The other guys barely, I mean, Jason probably had 1,000 steps the whole trip, dude. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff I want. I want the challenge. That's what you sign up for, and that's what you pay the money for. You put your entry into these tags and this and that. Like I do the tags for Texas all the time,
Yep.
and I've never gotten drawn, but I've only been doing it, for like 4 years now. So my time's coming with that. And you just want the challenge of the hunt, because that's what means the most to me in a way. It's not just harvesting the animal and feeding your family with it. It's also the experience that you had to get the animal. And I tell you what, man, like we hunted our ass off for that nail guy, and finally everything just worked out. We were sitting over a water hole and under a big old oak shade tree, and uh had some younger bulls come in and this and that, and finally we had this real nice bull come in, and it's second day already and it's getting late, and that guide was like, he's like, it's not the bull of the pasture, he said, but I would shoot that bull. And I freaking base of the neck in the water, 80 yards, bolted it, dude. It was surreal, man. It was so much fun. I had a great time. It's at the taxidermy right now. I'm pumped up to get it back. I should be getting it back in about, 3 to 4 months. And it's exciting, dude. I love that crap.
Oh, dude, I think I'm working on a podcast series that I'm gonna do, and I'll tell people, but it's like the history of hunting in Texas, right? And I'm basically gonna break down from like the beginning of time until up till now. And when I was doing the research for these podcasts and stuff, it's like the ones that kept coming up the most obviously are nilgai and axis. Now whitetail's king in Texas, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
It will forever be king in Texas. But axis and nilgai, from the stuff that I was seeing, are like slowly creeping up to be like, I want to say like Texas staples. Like people, obviously, we're the only ones with nilgai for the most part, as much as I found. But like
Yeah.
axis are in Hawaii, and they're in other places too. But they don't seem to. Hawaii just has a problem that they have too many axis, right? But they don't seem to thrive anywhere else like they do in Texas. Like the
Yep.
herds, the size of them, like even the axis that they're shooting and hunting over there, because there's so many. One of the reasons they're not as big as the axis that we shoot and hunt here. Like the
Right.
axis here, like we got this axis hide, and this was a doe. Like they're just so cool of an animal just to come from India, both of them, the nilgai and the axis, and be able to come here and thrive like that. And plus, some people might get some hate on this or not, but if you were to put an axis backstrap and a whitetail backstrap on a plate in front of me,
I know
I'm
what I'm
probably
choosing.
90% of the time it's gonna pick the axis one, because they are so good to freaking eat, and the
Oh
nilgai
yeah.
too. But like
Yep.
both of those animals are blowing up in Texas, and I like it. I mean, some people, they're invasive, they're or they're not, they're non-native species. I get it, but at some point,
Mm-hmm.
guys, they're here and they're not going anywhere. I mean, we were driving to our lease all the time. I mean, it was blowing my mind when I drive through Kerrville and like Junction all over there and seeing dead axis on the side of the road. Like,
Yeah.
the,
Hey, funny
that
story about axis on the side of the road, dude. No joke. I'm going down to South Texas to kill my oryx this past Wednesday. I'm driving. Me and my buddy we're talking about whatever, and I'm driving, and I'm right outside of Goliad, where you either go, you keep going straight to go to Berkeley and Beeville, or you take a right to go to Charcoal
Yep.
Kennedy. Dude, right
Yeah.
there before you get to the river, I'm just driving. I see something on the side of the road. It's an Axis buck just standing there. I I nudged my buddy. I said, "Did you see that shit?" And he's like, "What?" He was on his phone or something. I said, "There was an Axis buck just standing there." I said, "If that thing's on there on the way back," I said, "we might have to make a little detour and get a little western, dude, because I know what they taste like, man. They're good." When I
Oh
went to the
yeah.
Hill Country and shot mine at the West Kerr Ranch over there at a mountain home, dude, I had the best time, and it was
Yep.
a fun hunt. Like, man, that was just, dude, the first time I heard one make their sound, buck
When they
grunts
start roaring.
and yeah,
Yep.
dude, they started roaring, and I looked at the dude, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And he's like, "Oh, that's the Axis." He said they make like that, or like that real weird noise, and I was like, "Dude, that's freaky, man." I had no idea. I had no idea,
Oh
and I
yeah.
was like, "That's freaking
Yeah.
crazy." And dude, they make a loud noise, and I mean, you can pinpoint them to a T where they are because they're so loud, and it was just fun. But man, when we saw that Axis on the road, dude, and then when we were coming back, we were in Beeville for I don't know 4 or 5 hours. We came back through. That damn thing was bedded down in the ditch right there again. And I'm like, what is this thing doing here? And it was just crazy, man, just to see that. And I thought it was
Oh,
insane. It
well,
wasn't a very big buck. It had 3 or 4 inch horns, but I was just like, man, that's crazy to see it on the side of the road in freaking Goliad, Texas.
well, I'll be back down in Goliad this coming weekend, so might have to go check out and
Man,
see
I'm
if
gonna
that
drop you.
spot's
I'm gonna
there. See
drop you a
whose property
pin. I'm
that
gonna
is.
drop you a pin
Yeah,
where it
send me a
was.
pin. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go see
it
whose
was
property that
crazy.
is. And be like, hey man, y'all know this Axis is running around? No, I mean you kind of growing up in Goliad. I mean, we always knew about exotics and stuff, and there's a few ranches in Goliad that had them, but they were always behind a high fence. And then I think I was in, I don't know, I might have been in right out of elementary or junior high, something like that. And there was a fire in South Goliad County, and that ranch, that high fence ranch, had some elk on it. So there was some elk that got out. So there was elk running around South Texas for a little while. Every now and then you would hear people say they saw them or something like that, but I don't think it was enough for them to, stay alive and keep populating. But
Yeah,
that'd
who
be pretty
knows,
cool. Like
man?
if we go down to do something in Goliad and the Axis walks out, I'm gonna be real excited. I'll tell you what.
Oh, hell yeah. No, for sure. That was the last thing I expected to see. And then to see it twice on the way, like I saw it on the way back. Cause I'm looking, like, I'm like, all right, we're almost there. Like
Yeah.
I'm in my mind, like, okay, I think it was by that creek. Maybe it was a little further. And I was like, shit, there it is right there. And
Uh-huh.
I passed it up again. It was just bedded up, dude. I'm like, bro, that's crazy. I said, how has nobody stopped and messed with that thing? Cause obviously it's
Yeah.
not, they're not there, but you get them in the hill country that just run wild and that. So, you got a better chance of
Mhm.
seeing them up there. But no, there's nothing better, man, than Axis backstrap. But I tell you what, that nail guy makes a good running for Axis backstrap because, I mean, I think it's really good. Plus the amount of meat, dude. My freezer is full right now. If you ever come through Louise, stop by my house. I'll give you some. I'll give you some nail guy, dude, because I got more nail guy than I know what to do with. And now I'm about to get my
Oh
orcs
yeah.
back, and orcs is great too. I'm like, I'm gonna have to buy another freaking freezer, bro.
Yeah. And I feel like all these people that, I guess are on the against the non-natives. I'm like, y'all obviously have not eaten any of these animals.
Oh
Because
man, they're a delicacy, dude.
if you did, you would not have this outlook on these animals. Like
Hundred
they
percent,
taste so freaking good. So freaking
hundred
good.
percent. Yeah. I always,
That's yeah.
growing up, my
Axis and
mom
Noga,
always
top of the
cooked.
list.
My mom always cooked when I was growing up. She liked frog legs, and man, I was like young as hell,
Oh
and I'm
yeah.
like, frog legs, like I don't know about that. And I tried one, dude. I eat them every chance I get. If she says, "Hey, I'm making
Oh,
frog legs,"
100%.
I'm going to their house and eating frog legs every time, dude. They're so good. It's one of those things that you're like, that don't sound good. And I'm not a picky eater at all, but I'm like, yeah, that don't sound good, and I'm always gonna try something once, but it might not be twice. But
Yeah.
any chance I get to eat anything good like that, shit, sign me up.
Oh yeah, because we went to a crawfish boil yesterday, and like I remember, uh, I think it is probably like a distinct line. Like one of the good things we got from Katrina, because there's a whole bunch of bad things, but one of the good things was like that Cajun food and that Cajun culture that kind of migrated over to Texas because they were looking for because they were displaced because of the storm. But like crawfish boils before that weren't like a big thing in Texas. Like not to like what I remember, but after that, it's like
Hmm.
every spring we're having crawfish, we're eating boudin, we're doing all the frog legs, all that stuff now, and I think that's pretty cool that side came over to Texas after that, after the hurricane and everything. But like it's taken a good strong hold, I think, especially down in our area, because I mean
Oh
you can
yeah,
you say it's a short trip to Louisiana, but in reality, you just got to get through Houston. But
yeah. It's
it's
three and a half.
it's a
It's
short
three
trip
hours
to
and 31 minutes from my house. I know that because I go there a lot
get
to where I go, Lake
exactly because
Charles. But
oh, dude, Lake Charles is a place. Have you been to Daryl's?
oh yeah, Daryl's is great. I used to go to the one in Jennings a lot, but I heard it closed down, and I was pretty sad about that. But I think the one in Lake
Oh, dude,
Charles is still open. I have another spot
yeah,
in Lake
it better
Charles that you
be.
need to try. I'll text you the name of it. It's just a little Cajun cafe, dude. It will knock your socks off. It's so good. It's called Nina P's. It is some of the best food I've
Yeah,
ever had in my life. It's to die for.
dude.
It's funny. People
I,
ask me, they're like, "Well, what's your favorite kind of food? Do you like American? You like Chinese? You like Mexican?" And then I always tell them, I like all of those. And I said Mexican would probably be on my list out of all those. I said, but Cajun's like my number one. Anything seafood, man. Like especially living, 30, 40 minutes from the coast, dude. We get fresh shrimp all the time and fresh fish and flounder and
hmm
you name it, dude. It's right there in our backyard, and so it's man. I always tell people like Cajun food is like my go to, man.
I'm right there with you, man. Because like I've said this before on the podcast, but like I've had buddies and people reach out like, "Hey, man, you want to go bass fishing? You want to go do this like freshwater fishing?" And I'm like, "Look, man, I appreciate it, but unless we're going to chase redfish or something that's really going to pull on the line, like I'm out. I'm out."
Yeah,
It's just where I
yeah,
grew up. It was so close to getting salt water. If we wanted to go fishing for something, I need something that's gonna dang near pull the pole out of my hand. That's what I want to do when
heck
I go
yeah,
fishing.
yeah. I'm not real big into fishing. I tell my buddies, I was like, hey, y'all gotta take me fishing. I said, you gotta damn near bait my hook and damn near set the hook for me. I said, I can't catch a fish in the aquarium sometimes, dude. Like that is no lie. And it pisses me
Yeah,
off because they'll be right next to me catching fish, and I'm over here trying my hardest, and I don't catch fish. It's something you got to do. But you get me on land, any kind of hunting, I'm good.
yeah,
Bird hunting, duck hunting. I don't duck hunt much. I got buddies that do it. They do all the crane hunts and stuff, and goose, and
yeah,
all the geese and all that kind of stuff. And I go with them occasionally, and I enjoy it. But man, my heart is just in the woods. After them critters, and after the whitetail, and chasing these I've turned the page now and I'm chasing these exotics, and it's just fun to me, man. It's I love that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, fishing, everybody loves fishing, and I do too, but I just don't do it enough to get good at it. It's like golf. You got to play
yeah.
golf every day of your life to get good at it.
Like my wife Megan, she likes fishing way more than I do. Don't I love it, but like you said, if you were to give me one or the other, I'm picking hunting every single time. Where with her,
Yep.
she'll probably pick fishing most of the time. But like yeah, like it's unless you're doing it all the time, like fly fishing. I like chasing and doing reds and like side casting reds and stuff. And when our buddy we go fishing with all the time, he's like, "Dude, you need to pick up that fly rod. You need to pick up that fly rod." I'm like, I understand, I do. But listen, I'm trying to do all these other things too that are already
Yeah.
pissing me off, and I
Oh
don't need
yeah.
something else right now. Let me get these kind of managed. I said once I get like I shoot archery too, so like once I get my archery stuff kind of dialed, I may move into fly fishing. But until then, we're still on land hunting animals that are on
Yeah.
land rather than the ones in the water right now. I'll just
Yeah.
leisurely fish for the time being right now. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hunting, being in the woods, chasing animals like that, man.
You said
That's the number
archery.
one.
Archery's become kind of a thing I really like too now, because man, when you're bow
Not
hunting, dude, you're amongst them. You know, you can hear that deer crunching that corn, or you can hear that pig breathing or whatever, dude. And that, like, right there, it just raised a hair on your body, you know. And I tell you, who really got me into bow hunting is Jay Spann. You
yeah.
know, he's a big bow hunter. He does all the archery. He likes doing the archery shoots where you hike and, you know, you shoot the Sasquatch and the
Yep.
zombie
Yep.
and all this shit. He loves that stuff, and it's great, man. And I want to really get into that. And I have a nice bow, you know, and I go to the archery shop there in Edna, and they have, you know, Donnie. He has a great shop there, South Texas Archery,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and
Yep. I've been seeing their
I
stuff
want
on.
to
I follow their page.
yeah, I want to get into it more. You know, I've killed some does, and I killed my big whitetail with my bow, and, you know, some pigs and stuff. But yeah, Jay Spann he sat with me the first time I ever killed a doe with my bow, and dude, I was pretty pumped up because I was just like, I looked at him after I'd shot, and I was like, dude, that thing was like 10 yards, bro. Like, I'm sitting in the stand, it's 100 yards. I can talk to my buddy or my whoever, and they ain't gonna hear me, you know. Like, there, you can't even move a muscle, dude. But it's the challenge. It's
No,
the
sir.
challenge for me at the end of the day, man. That's what's, you know, that's
A
the fun of it.
100%. Like, if you pick up a bow and you want to chase whitetails or pretty much anything, like, you already know that you're handicapping yourself to make the experience harder. Like, for instance, we went to Idaho with my buddy Jared, and we were up there with archery. We had the best shot that we had at getting some bucks. There was 2 bucks in a group with some does, and it was probably like a 140s mule deer buck, and maybe like there was a little bit bigger one. He may have been 150s, pushing 160s. Perfect. Like, we would have 100% shot those deer and brought them back to Texas. But like, the closest we could get to them was about 150 yards. And then crunching through the snow, like, we'd try to make a move and we'd look and find them again, they'd be another 150 yards. And then we'd break a move, and it's just like, dude, if we'd have just had a gun as soon as we spotted them, boom, it'd have been over with. But it's like
Oh,
you
I
said, it's
know.
that extra challenge that you're putting on yourself
Yeah.
to get that goal done. But it is frustrating as hell, I'll tell you. But it's
Yes,
so
it
much fun when
is.
you get it done the right way.
It's more rewarding, yeah. And like Jason's the same way. Like, he's like, you know, he used to go mule deer hunting in Colorado, and like, he loved his freaking bow hunting over there. And, you know, we talked about going on a trip, him, me, and another guy we work with, Brandon, and I was like, dude, I was like, let's do it. And he's like, yeah, I'll check with the guys, you know. And it's a huge place, but man, they've killed some awesome mule deer. And he's like, dude, it's my favorite hunting I've ever done. He's like, mule deer in Colorado in the winter. He said there's nothing better. He said it's so much fun. He said they're such big animals. They taste great. And he said the challenge of it, you know, of shooting a mule deer and with your bow is fun. And I want to do that. You know, I want an elk one day in Colorado. I want a mule deer. I either want to go to a mule deer hunt in Colorado, or I want to go to, like, you know, Sonora, Mexico, somewhere over there, and, you know, go
Mm-hmm.
out of the country and shoot one. Um, those are definitely two on my list. I want to kill, you know, a Texas, you know, pronghorn, or New Mexico pronghorn. I think that would be pretty fun. You know, that's kind of one of those animals. You know, it's like, you know, almost a staple of, you know, this, not this area where I live, but, you know, in Texas somewhere, you know, there's a big
Yeah.
population of them. And so I want to definitely
Yeah.
do that. And then obviously my end goal, like, I want to go to Africa, you know, and get, you know, all the cool stuff over there. But that just takes time and money, you know, so.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right there with you. Like, Africa's been on my list since I was a little kid, man. Just watching all the hunting videos and seeing the culture and everything they do about hunting. Like, the one thing, especially all the people I've talked to that have been and come back, it's like, I just want to go and be around those trackers. Like, I want to go and
Hmm.
be around guys that, like, you know, like, look at this print right here. This one's hurt. And like, out of all these, you know, tracks left, like, this is the one that you shot, and be able to pick it out because it's bent this way or something like that. Like, you're
Yep.
never going to be able to take in all the information, but just like, you're going to be able to take something home to add to your toolbox to hunt animals over here, just being around people like that. Yeah, Africa's just, I I really think every hunter should have Africa on their list at some point, because it's just going and experiencing something different. Even though it's still hunting, it's just a different way. and getting to see those animals and be in different country and all that kind of stuff. Africa should be on everybody's list.
100%. No, it definitely is on mine. And I'm going to go, once for sure, you know, before my time comes, and it's just a high priority with me, but it just takes time and money and a lot of preparation. It's not something you just schedule today and you go in a week. It takes time, and
Oh,
it's
no,
it's
no,
a lot of
no.
planning out and everything. But you find the right place in Africa to go, and I've had buddies that done it, and they send me pictures. One of my best friends, Davis, he went a couple years ago, and he had a great time with him and his family and his wife, and he's like, dude, you got to go. And I was like, man, I'm gonna go one day. I just it just takes time, man. But
Yeah. And like I said, I tell people all the time, if you're in that same spot, like you just don't know, dude, these trade shows and DSC and Safari Club, like you can go and talk to these people that you're going to be hunting with and get to meet them,
mm-hmm,
kind of get like a little, repertoire with them or something, or pick out which ones you like better or who made you laugh a little more or do something
mm-hmm,
and kind of narrow it down like that. And like you said, when
yep,
you're face to face, it's kind of hard for people to lie to you, but then you hear those horror stories of people booking hunts with people they don't know and then show up to Africa and like, where are they supposed to pick? They said they were going to pick me up here and they're not here.
yeah, you're halfway around,
But yeah, there's a
the
lot of,
world and don't know what to do.
yeah, exactly. But luckily through the podcast and everything else, it's like, man, we get to meet a lot of cool people that do that stuff. So we got
Oh yeah,
recommendations, a whole book of them. And if we don't know, we can definitely find somebody that does, and that can point you in the right direction for sure.
100%, man. Yep. Nah, it's definitely on my list, and it will get done one day. That's for sure.
Heck yeah. Well, I'll be definitely glad to hear the stories when you come back and you get it done, man, because
Yeah.
you're
Oh
definitely
yeah.
you're gonna have stories. You're gonna have stories.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I
cool,
will for
man.
sure.
I I had a great time tonight. Talking to you, getting to know you a little bit. Time, man. It's been a few weeks coming now that we first talked on the phone about doing this
Yeah.
podcast and everything. And like
Yep.
I said, I really enjoyed having you on and getting to share your story and your side of what you're doing down there in Louise and building it. And like I said, when we spoke on the phone, it's like if we can do anything to help, we got some stuff coming to hopefully we can help out and do some things and help grow that contest. Because, like, man, it's the goal for us here at Tejas is obviously to help people, get into hunting. If you're already in it, help you be successful in what you're trying to do and just get information out there, man. Because we're kind of especially for the guys that like want to go out west and try different things, because I mean a lot of the stuff here in Texas is obviously geared towards just Texas, which we love, but there's a lot of opportunities like you spoke on in Africa and going to Colorado and letting people know that those things are there, they're obtainable. You just got to put in a little work and a little time, and you'll get there, man. So yeah, I just want to say thanks for coming on the podcast tonight and sharing your story, and we'll be glad to help out with the Louise Varmint contest and anything
Appreciate it,
else to
man.
help promote it when it comes back around. Yeah, dude.
Appreciate it.
So
You know, you
during
mentioned
the
like
off season,
the
like,
support system, the support, of everything, and like all these guys that put these tournaments on, like we all lean on each other, man. I've met like all these guys that put these tournaments on. They're lifelong friends of mine now, and there's so many of them. They're great people, and they know what it takes to put this stuff on. But I recently saw one coming up in April, and it was a young man from the Georgetown area that passed away in a tragic accident. Doing some stuff with some cattle and that, and I don't know all the details of the situation, but they created a tournament in his honor, and I reached out to one of the young ladies that actually was hosting the tournament. With her boyfriend or husband, whatever he is, and that kid was best friends with him, and he passed away not too long ago. And so the Louise Varmint Hunt, we decided to do a monetary donation to them to give them some money for buckles and whatever they may need. All the proceeds are going back to I believe the Georgetown bass fishing team for the high school, because he apparently
Okay.
convinced his ag teacher to start that. And I thought that was really cool. That's just like what we were talking about earlier with the barbecue teams and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He convinced his ag teacher to start that, and I thought that was really interesting. And so I wanted to help out. And it's never easy. Death is never easy, and that. So
No.
the Louise Varmint Hunt, we made a little donation to them, and yeah, so they can use that money however they want. I think they bought some vocals with it and that. So we're happy to support other people, that support us. They hunted my tournament this year, so I really appreciate them and that. And so I wanted to give back to them because that's the whole point of everything that I do with this is to give back in some kind of way. It was always the end goal. That was the end goal when I started, was to give back, and I had to get established. I got established, and then my purpose was to give back, and that's what we're doing now. So.
Yep, and that's exactly why I wanted to reach out to you, man, because like you said, it takes a lot to do these things, and the more we can lean on each other to help, keep this going, this way of life that we love, hunting and fishing and being outdoors, because we said it many times, we're going to keep saying there's a lot of people that don't like what we do, and they are very organized, and they have a lot of money to back essentially the lies that they push to try to get this stuff, banned and everything else. And it
Mhm.
sucks that we have to come out of the woods to handle this kind of stuff, but it's going to take hunters coming out of the woods for a little while, and getting together and doing the contest and leaning on each other to make sure that our kids and their kids get to go out and do the things that we love doing, because if not, it's going to be taken away.
Yeah, that's the whole point of, I always have a motto is take a kid hunting, because that's what I happened to me when I was a kid. I got to go hunting all the time. Anytime I wanted to go, my dad would take me, or my cousins would take me, or whoever, friend, family friend, whatever. Take a kid hunting, man. It's important because that's the future generation, and that's what's gonna be here, and they're gonna pass that on to their kids, and they're gonna pass that on to their kids when we're gone. So at the end of the day, take a kid hunting, man. It's important.
I love it. I love it. Thanks, guys, for listening to another podcast on Tejas Hunt Club. Make sure you go follow Ty and Louise Varmint Hunt on Facebook. Get all the information. If you think you're good enough, enter in the hunt next year. And if you don't think you're good enough, donate something. Help out. Show up at the weigh-in. Just show support for the people and the events that are helping to push what we love to do. And we'll keep putting out podcasts to get y'all the information on them. And we'll catch y'all next week. Peace.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it. It was a great time. I appreciate you, Brandon, for letting me come on here. Had a really good time with this. And also, yeah, just check out our website. Everything is on there that y'all need to know for the scholarship information and that. So y'all have a good day. I appreciate it.